I really envy you. You just came across another intensely thrilling film. If you finish watching it and think it is boring, come back and slap me in the face. This is Bae Sulki's boldest film, and also the one that nearly ended her acting career. From the moment it was released, it sparked huge controversy among audiences across South Korea. It was not because the actors performed poorly, but because the director arranged a story of human revenge between an elderly man nearing 80 and a young, beautiful woman. When you truly step into the deeper meaning behind the film, you discover that beneath what seems provocative lies a chilling abyss of human nature. The woman is named Yanwa, at the age as delicate as a flower, in the prime of her youth and beauty. Yet she drags her suitcase alone to a villa to become a caregiver for a man nearly 80 years old. Every day she not only has to handle his most basic needs, but also bathe him at least twice a day. Facing such exhausting work, Yanwa does not retreat.
아버님이라 여기고 성심성의껏 제가 잘
중간에 그만두면 계약 무효야. 사부실수 들었지?
The old man lost his wife when he was young and his son last year, already in the darkest stage of his life, and fate still did not spare him. Not long ago he was diagnosed with late-stage stomach cancer, and his remaining life was estimated to be only 6 months. Disheartened, he gave up treatment and only wanted to wait for death in solitude. And the reason Yanwa gave up her youth to take care of him was only one, not because of his property, but because of a single matter. The old man was extremely strict about food, and whenever he encountered dishes he disliked, he would lose his temper. With stomach cancer, rich and greasy food was basically impossible, especially anything heavy and oily. Looking at the difficult situation before her, Yanwa felt an indescribable emotion. Even when her hand was cut by broken glass, she still continued to massage the old man. Only after he completely fell asleep could Yanwa have a little personal time. But the peace did not last long, as the old man woke up in the middle of the night due to pain from his illness. And when he saw Yanwa sleeping peacefully beside the bed, he spat water at her. In his mind, a caregiver should always be working and never resting for a moment, and this was also the reason why he could never keep a caregiver for long. The old man was not only strict about meals, but also extremely demanding about laundry. Every piece of clothing had to be washed by Yanwa using her feet. The bathwater could not exceed 45 degrees, and even scrubbing had to follow a specific order from top to bottom.
억울해할 것도 없고 남 탓할 것도 없어요.
At a class reunion the next day, Yanwa stood by his side, feeding him medicine and pouring tea. His old classmates were full of envy and kept asking where he had found such a young and beautiful wife. The old man hurried to explain that she was only his caregiver and told them not to misunderstand. At that moment, the host encouraged everyone to sing and perform to add some fun to the gathering. Since most of them were elderly, they passed the opportunity to the younger person. One classmate suggested that Yanwa go up and sing a song. Yanwa did not hesitate and walked onto the stage gracefully, but to everyone's surprise, the young and beautiful woman sang a song from 30 years ago, completely from a different era. Her gentle and moving voice reminded the old man of his late wife, because that had been her favorite song when she was at her most youthful and beautiful. On the way home, the old man could not help asking Yanwa about her age. She was 28, the same age as his wife when she passed away. Such a coincidence brought comfort to the old man, as if his wife were still by his side. From that day on, his attitude toward Yanwa changed completely. He no longer shouted at her, but instead made time to sit with her in the yard and enjoy the sounds of birds and blooming flowers. Even when he suffered severe stomach pain at night, he would not disturb her, but endure the pain alone and take painkillers by his bedside. He tried his best not to make a sound, yet Yanwa still heard the movement. In order not to let her see his painful side, he ordered her to go iron his clothes. Only after the pain subsided did he walk out of the room with a calm expression, but he still did not let Yanwa rest, and instead told her to pick up some photos from the studio, saying he would be taking a long trip in the future. Yanwa did not understand what he meant by a long trip. When she arrived at the studio, she discovered that the photo he asked her to collect was a portrait prepared for a funeral. In that instant, Yanwa understood that he intended to end his life, and sending her to pick up the photo was only to distract her. But she had not yet finished what she came for, so she could not let him leave so easily. She rushed back home as fast as she could. At that moment, the old man was already fully dressed and slowly standing on a chair, preparing to reunite with his wife in heaven. When he heard Yanwa pressing the door code repeatedly outside, he immediately kicked the chair away. After about 5 seconds, Yanwa burst into the living room and used all her strength to lift him up. Fortunately, after emergency rescue, the old man's life was saved by Yanwa. Because of his condition, he could not drink water, so Yanwa took a sip herself and gently passed it into his mouth. Whether it was the power of emotion or simply water, the old man's complexion improved significantly.
살아요. 우리.
After this rescue, his affection toward Yanwa gradually increased. They began to shop together like father and daughter and buy healthy food. The neighbors admired the bond between them. As his mood improved, his health gradually improved as well. After examination, it was discovered that the cancer cells in his body had stopped spreading, and his estimated 6 months of life had extended to 6 years. For the old man, this was truly something to celebrate. As they were talking, he reached for Yanwa's hand and kept touching it. This made Yanwa feel physically uncomfortable. To avoid embarrassment, she quickly withdrew her hand. After all, she had warned him that she had never intended to be with him in that way. Gradually, however, the old man developed dependence and complicated feelings toward Yanwa. No longer just an employer and caregiver relationship, but something closer to family, relying on each other. Like a child, he began giving Yanwa gifts, and even tried to carry heavy items himself to show his strength. He ate raw fish in large bites and drank strong liquor, only to prove that his body was still fine. Afraid that his condition would worsen, Yanwa impulsively grabbed his hand and told him not to drink anymore. But this action made the old man mistakenly believe that Yanwa secretly cared for him. In a moment clouded by alcohol, he even developed inappropriate thoughts toward her. These thoughts were quickly met with Yanwa's firm resistance, which deeply hurt him and left him defeated.
술이 과하셔서 생긴 실수예요. 제대로 모시지 못한 제 잘못도 있고요. 주의하겠습니다.
In the days that followed, he became quiet again and no longer harbored improper intentions toward Yanwa. But what he did not expect was that Yanwa suddenly seemed like a different person. In front of him, she deliberately dressed in a more alluring way, and every movement seemed to invite his attention. Yet after all, he was still human, and facing such temptation, he could not help but glance at her. That night, the old man's illness suddenly flared up, and the pain caused him to curl up in the corner. After hearing the noise, Yanwa immediately returned to her room, changed into a more alluring outfit, and then held the old man in her arms. In fact, the old man did not want to take medicine, but under Yanwa's insistence, he obediently swallowed the pills. Faced with her alternating warmth and coldness, the old man felt like a confused fly. He could not understand what Yanwa's behavior was truly for. When the two were watching television in the living room, her long legs made it impossible for the old man to restrain himself, and he reached out his hand.
갑자기 너무 많이 움직이시면 해롭대요. 영화 보시면서 좀 쉬세요.
This was clearly provoking his desire, because it was a torment more cruel than death. And this was precisely the reason Yanwa approached him. The story now returns to many years earlier. At that time, Yanwa was working as a hostess. One day, while serving a guest, she drank too much and felt dizzy, so she sat alone by the roadside to recover. Unexpectedly, the guest she had been serving suddenly appeared beside her and handed her a bottle of hangover medicine. Since entering that line of work, it was the first time she had been treated with such kindness, and Yanwa burst into laughter with joy. Not long after the guest left, perhaps unwilling to leave her alone on the street, he thought it over and returned, took Yanwa's hand, brought her to a restaurant, and bought her a bowl of millet porridge to warm her body. During that time, the guest began to sing, and the song was the same one Yanwa later sang at the old man's class reunion.
그거 누가 부른 노래예요?
엄마요. 이거 엄마가 기분 좋을 때면은 부르던 노래예요. 그래서 저도 가끔 이렇게.
From that day on, their relationship gradually grew closer, until they finally confirmed they were in love. But the good days did not last long, because Yanwa's identity as a hostess was discovered by the father, who immediately rejected the relationship and harshly humiliated his son. In anger, the son packed his luggage and decided to leave home. Only a few days after he left, Yanwa was brought into a room by people arranged by the old man. The son cried in despair, kneeling and begging. One of them disdainfully threw down a stack of cash, mocking Yanwa's occupation, saying the money was merely charity and that they would come often to support her business. The son's heart shattered completely. They both thought they had encountered something twisted, and as the son walked toward the police station in despair, he was so overwhelmed that he failed to notice the road and was struck by a passing vehicle. Afterward, the father called Yanwa and told her everything that had just happened.
이렇게까지 하셨어야 했어요?
자식 이기는 부모 없다지만 난 아니야. 어떤 데 기대하지 마.
그럼 정환 씨는요? 정환 씨는 어떻게 달라고요?
젊은 혈기에 잠깐 실수한 걸로 치면은 그뿐이야. 응?
그럼 저는요? 제 마음은요?
넌 살던 대로 살아. 정 팔고 웃음 팔면서.
He never imagined that his cruel actions would lead to his son's death. At her boyfriend's funeral, Yanwa hid in the corner and wept uncontrollably. When she later learned that the old man had late-stage stomach cancer, she gave up her youth and decided to stay by his side. She was not only seeking justice for her boyfriend, but also determined to make the old man face the consequences of his actions. Since arriving at the villa, she gave the old man a cup of medicinal wine every day. The old man became deeply infatuated, even shaving the beard he had kept for years and presenting his most youthful appearance to Yanwa. He took out an expensive ring and quietly approached her while she was asleep on the sofa. Afraid the sunlight would wake her, he gently shielded her face from the light and smiled with affection. He never realized that the woman he had fallen in love with was the same hostess he once despised. As Yanwa slept more deeply, he carefully slipped the ring onto her ring finger. The movement woke her up.
연아야, 배고파?
He had prepared a table full of rich dishes, wanting to confess his feelings at that moment. Yanwa clearly understood what he intended to do. Looking at the oily food on the table, she warned him that eating like that would harm his health. Even then, the old man tried to prove himself, grabbing a greasy chicken leg and stuffing it into his mouth.
너무 늦으셨어요. 전 선약이 있거든요.
Afterward, Yanwa changed into a more alluring outfit and left the house without looking back. The old man, deeply attached, sat on the road she would take home and waited until sunset. Yet she never appeared. Only when dark clouds gathered and heavy rain poured down did he reluctantly return home. Because he had eaten rich food and the weather had turned cold, he ended up vomiting violently in the bathroom. When Yanwa returned and saw the scene, she fulfilled her duty and brought him back to the living room.
바라는 거 없다. 너한테 내가 바라는 거 없어. 그냥 이렇게 너랑 나.
그렇게 쉬운 일이 어떤 사람한텐 욕심이래요.
The old man mistakenly believed she had met someone she liked, so he quickly tried to secure her with material promises, saying he would give her his house and property as long as she would not love someone else. But it was already too late, because from the moment Yanwa entered his house, she had never come for his property.
아버님도 제 마음 아셨잖아요. 다 알면서 그러셨잖아요.
The old man collapsed to the ground in shock, and memories from the past flooded his mind.
이제 기억나셨구나. 난 시키신 대로 정 팔고 웃음 팔면서 산 건데. 왜요?
He remembered his son's tragic death, the humiliation he had inflicted on Yanwa, and the distorted desire he later developed toward her. Overwhelming regret and pain consumed him completely. After sitting quietly in the yard for several days, the old man made a decision. He took the initiative to open Yanwa's door and asked her to give him one last bath. This time, there was no trace of desire on his face. In their moment of eye contact, he thought of his son.
미안하구나.
He then put on the suit his son had bought for him and once again had thoughts of ending his life. He could not face his sins, nor could he bear the pain of losing Yanwa. Even though Yanwa had come for revenge, the old man ultimately chose to end his life at home. The moment Yanwa heard the chair fall outside, she knew she had finally achieved her revenge. Yet there was no satisfaction on her face, only endless numbness and sorrow. She had won her revenge, but lost herself. Those humiliating memories and carefully planned schemes had already hollowed out her heart. After the flames of revenge burned out, what remained was boundless emptiness. At the end of the story, Yanwa sat alone on a chair. As the train approached, she slowly stood up, walked firmly toward the tracks, and closed her eyes before falling forward. Throughout the film, the empty villa symbolizes their lonely hearts. The herbal elements at night represent desire and destruction, and the striking contrast between youth and old age strips away the complexity and darkness of human nature. The old man and Yanwa were never absolute opposites of good and evil. They were both pitiful people manipulated by fate and entangled in human weakness. One was destroyed by arrogance and desire, the other trapped by hatred and obsession. Entwined in love and resentment, they destroyed each other and ultimately became victims of desire and hatred. The film does not deliberately praise or condemn anyone. It simply uses an extreme tragedy to question every viewer. When desire arrives, can we hold onto our moral boundaries? When hatred binds us, can we learn to let go of obsession? That concludes today's story, and I look forward to our next encounter.